Hello, I'm Derek from Inflatable SUP Authority, and today we're going to be presenting the 3 tower paddle boards. So this is the S-Class, the starter series, which is the cheapest in the tower lineup. This is the Yachtsman from the premium line, which is about the mid-class in the tower lineup. And this big guy over here is the Xtreme, and it's part of the Elite series. So all these boards are recreational style boards. This is the Tower S-Class, which is a starter series in the tower lineup. Now the paddlers that it is for smaller frame paddlers. So I would say people on about 5'8" and under or so. Although if you are a larger person like me, you can do it, but you will have a little bit more issues with stability just starting out, but it's something you can get used to. Now this board is pretty lightweight and it is made of a fusion construction. This is the Tower S-Class. So it has a 10-foot 4-inch length, 32-inch width, as well as a 6-inch thickness. So this board is made of a fusion construction, which is a lighter weight construction. It has a 0.4 millimeter base layer, followed by a 0.1 millimeter glue layer and a 0.6 millimeter fusion tarpon sandwich layer right at the outer edge there. The board is 20 pounds. And the maximum capacity is 275 pounds, which makes it ideal for a solo paddler, maybe a tiny dog. This is the Tower Yachtsman. Now this specific model is actually a 2019 model. It's my friend's, so I borrowed. Now, the people that I say this board would be for is for people who have boats, like even if you have a yacht or just a small boat and you want to paddle in the middle of the lake. It's a pretty decent board for that. I wouldn't use it for day trips because there's no bungee deck webbing on it, so you can't stash and store stuff. I talked to Stefan, the founder of Tower, and he said that the use of this board is specifically for having children on, dogs, etc. Now I can see that, however, in my on-water testing, I found the board was a bit rickety. So if you're sitting, yeah, you can definitely do that, but standing, it'll get a little bit hairy, especially if you're in waves or in coastal waters. Now onto the Tower Yachtsman specs. This is the 10-foot 4-inch length board, 32 inches wide, and 6-inch thickness. Now it is made of a dual layer PVC, so essentially you have a 0.7 millimeter base layer, 1 millimeter glue layer, and a 1.4 millimeter outer layer, tarpon sandwich layer, which helps protect the SUP. Now this board has a maximum capacity of 400 pounds and weighs 26 pounds. So you may be asking yourself, what is the difference between the Yachtsman and the S-Class? Now the Yachtsman is part of the premier lineup of tower paddle boards, while the S-Class on the right hand side is the starter board. So the Yachtsman has more materials in it. Its PVC layering is thicker, as well as the fact that it has a higher weight capacity at 400 pounds. The board does not, as you can see, have any bungees. However, if you are looking for a premier class board, then you could go for the Tower Yachtsman 2 or the Mermaid. This is the Tower Xtreme, which is part of Tower's lineup of Elite series. Now this specific board is wider, so that means that it is a lot more stable in the water, which means you can have multiple passengers. Like for example, family could be on this board. I'd say 2 people can stand on this board. And it's also a decent board for tackling waves because you are higher up and you have that more stable base compared to a lot of other all-around boards. So for example, my friend who tried this out, he can barely stand on most all-around boards. He was able to stand in the waters of Deep Cove when there were waves and wake coming. So that was pretty interesting. I'll show that later. Now we're going over the Tower Xtreme specs. So the specifications of this board is that it is the same length as the other tower boards that I have here, 10 feet 4 inches I should say. It's 35 inches wide, so you can kind of tell there's a bit of a wider base there. And where this board actually differs is that it is 8 inches thick. So you can see that's a pretty thick base there. So this board is made of a dual layer PVC construction. It has a 0.7 millimeter base layer, 0.1 millimeter for glue, and 1.4 millimeters for the outer PVC tarpon sandwich. This board can hold up to 550 pounds maximum capacity, which is actually quite a bit for an all-around board. And it weighs 29 pounds, so it's a little bit heavier. So now you may be asking yourself, what is the difference between Tower Xtreme and the Yachtsman and S-Class? So if we go a little bit closer, you'll see that the Tower Xtreme actually is a lot thicker. If we come from this angle here, you can see they're all seated at about the same angle. And you can see that the Tower Xtreme just pops up a little bit more. So it's a thicker board, which means that it is more stable and it can also carry more people onto it. It's also a heavier board. Now we're going to do a quick rundown to the nose to tail specs. So as you can see at the very tip of the noses, there is a handle. So you go down, most of them have bungee deck webbing except for the Yachtsman. And then you have that striped deck pad, just a little bit of thickness to it. Overall, I thought it felt pretty good on the feet actually. There's the middle handle. It's nylon, but it has a neoprene cover on it. And followed by the valve, the handle, and the rear D-ring. Now we're going to do the bottom of the board. So you can see ever famous Tower logo there. I do like the Tower logo. I think it is one of the better ones in the SUP industry. So some of them will have some writing as well, like this one says Elite Series built by surfers. I do like the stripes on the bottom as well, pretty nice touch. Then you'll find 2 side fins, which in my opinion, in testing with other boards, they don't really do too much in the way of tracking. But thankfully, Tower does have a center fin. Now this is a detachable with a pin. So you stick it in and it holds it. So what comes with your Tower purchase? Well, everything right here. So you get the paddle, you get the repair kit, the strap. This is Stefan's book, 5-Hour Workday. I haven't read yet, but I'm sure it's a pretty good book. We also have the center dolphin fin and followed by the pump. Unfortunately, this package does not come with a bag, which I think is a bit of a con, but at the same time, it will take up less space. This is the Tower paddle. It is a fiberglass shaft with an ABS plastic blade. So this paddle can go from 65 inches to 85 inches height. Right now it's probably at about 80-ish. And the paddle weighs 34 ounces or 2.125 pounds. So we'll just get a closer look here. Show you the blade, the 9-degree angle blade. And then you can see the fiberglass shaft. This is the tower pump. This comes with the package. So this pump is 2.2 pounds and it has a screw-on gauge with a hose. You can see there. You see, you just start pumping the board. I personally use electric pumps these days, but if you don't want to spend the money, this pump will be decent to pump your board up. Now, Tower recommends that you pump their board to about 12 psi. It should also be noted that Tower does have other accessories as well. Like they do have a bag which has mesh sides. They have a carbon Kevlar paddle, which comes in 1 and 3 pieces, as well as a river fin, and they do have D-rings that you could actually glue onto your boards as well. So if you want D-rings maybe at the sides for kayak seat or maybe to strap a cooler, you can just buy them for a fairly cheap price on the Tower website. So the board kind of feels like it has a little bit of a limit as soon as you're going at a quicker pace. Like it has good acceleration, but then you kind of just hit a certain speed and you stay there. I also felt during each paddle, I did have to correct a little bit with my foot. It wasn't the best tracking, trying to go fast. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fin setup. It has the one clip-in center fin and the 2 little side fins versus what other companies have, which is a 2 5-inch side in, 5-inch side fins, and 9-inch center fin, or 8-inch sometimes. But overall, this is a pretty good starter board though. Like if you just want something to get out in the water, I would recommend this over probably most other Amazon boards. Is it the best board I've ever tested? No, but you know, it gets the job done and I feel fairly steady. My friend Carol was trying this board. She said felt a little bit less steady compared to her Serene Life board. And I think that's because of the profile of the board. It doesn't have a round nose like the Serene Life. But overall, this board it's a good starter board. It is what it is, and it's definitely lighter. So if you're a smaller person, it's actually a pretty decent board to get. So now on to the likes and dislikes of the Tower S-Class. So what I liked about this board is that it's very lightweight. I actually found it to be more stable than the Yachtsman. But mind you, the Yachtsman that I tried is 2019, so maybe they did some changes in between years compared to 2023. The board also rolls up better, I find, as well as it has better acceleration in the water because of its 20-pound weight. And it also maneuvers very well, and that is because of the one single center fin. Now onto the dislikes. I found that this board was rather limited in its tracking ability. It's very maneuverable, but I feel like if it had some side fins, some snap-on side fins, it would increase the on-water performance, the speed and the tracking. I found the stability to be okay. However, my newer SUP friends, Carol, she tried this board and she was having a bit of a hard time standing on it, especially when there was waves. I also wish that the S-Class had some add-on accessories. Like it would be nice to have a couple of D-rings for kayak seats here. And a bag would have also been, I think, a good feature as well, just so that people have something to carry the board with whenever they go for hikes. So right now we're on the Tower Yachtsman and we're at Deep Cove, British Columbia, Canada. It's one of the best paddling spots in Vancouver area, actually. And so my thoughts on the Tower Yachtsman, it's the same as when I first tested it. I'll link the video in the description and in the little suggested videos there. It's that it is not the most steady board I've tried. And like I said, there's no deck webbing, which is also a little bit of a pain because I would like to have a place to stash my dry bag and my sandals. As a result, I had to stash my dry bag on my friend's board. So this board, it tracks fairly well. It's a little bit squirrely, but the stability is a little bit questionable. So now on to the likes and dislikes of the Tower Yachtsman. So the Yachtsman, which is the mid-tier board, I really like the maneuverability of it. Like on my on-water testing, it had really good maneuverability, some of the better ones compared to the rest of all-around boards. I really thought that it had decent speed actually for an all-around board. Once you get going at a certain clip, you can maintain a fairly decent speed. And I also really like the look of this board. Like the dark navy blue with the sort of orangish deck pad is really nice sort of look. So now the dislikes to the Tower Yachtsman. I found that this board was not overly stable, especially when you hit waves. It would feel a little bit wobbly and you'd kind of feel on edge sometimes. I also am not a big fan that there's no bungee deck storage here. So it's very hard to store stuff on the board. Another dislike is I found the tracking was just okay. And that's due to the fin setup. I found that 4 strokes aside is the best that this board could really track. And also, I'm not a big fan that there's no add-on accessories, just like the S-Class. Would have liked to see some D-rings. Definitely, again, the deck bungees or even the deck bungees on the rear would have been very handy. And I also feel that they could have included a bag with this pack. So my overall impressions, this board is very stable and it's very maneuverable as well actually. The tracking, it's not the greatest, but that's what you can kind of expect out of a wide 35-inch board with a 10-foot 4-inch length. But overall, the person that I'd say this board is good for, definitely bigger people who are new and just want to stand on the board. Like that's their primary focus. They don't care about speed, tracking. They just want a nice stable board to stand on, or especially people with injuries, like my friend Nathan, bit of an injury. So yeah, overall though, for bigger people, I definitely recommend this board if you don't want any of the fancy bells and whistles, etc. And now on to the likes and dislikes of the Tower Xtreme. Now, I was actually very impressed with the stability of the Tower Xtreme. It's one of the more stable all-around boards I've been on, and that's thanks to its 35-inch width. The board felt great in the water, even in the waves. As my friend who could barely stand on all-around paddleboards to begin with, he's able to stand on this no problem when waves are coming in. I also really like the way that this board maneuvers. It's one of the quicker maneuvering boards, so you just put a paddle in the water and the board will just turn like that. I also like the fact that you can have multiple people on here. You could probably have 2 full-grown adults standing on this board and you shouldn't have too many problems. And the 8-inch thickness is also really nice. It kind of reminded me of standing on a dock. So you felt that stability while being a little bit higher up. It was actually a pretty good feeling. And much like the other tower boards, bears repeating, I do believe that they should have had some add-on accessories like D-rings on the side or even a paddle holder, bungee deck webbing at the back. And I also believe that they should have included a backpack, and side fins would have been really nice, especially for this wide board to help it track a little bit better, have better on-water performance. Now we're going to go over the warranty and return details of the tower boards. So these boards have a 1, 2, and 3 year limited warranty, starting with the S-Class over there, which has the 1 year limited warranty. And this is due to its lighter fusion construction. The Yachtsman in the middle has a 2 year warranty. And the Xtreme has a 3-year warranty. So this warranty, limited warranty I should say, is good against manufacturing defects, but it does not include scuffs, external damage from the sun, rocks, anything that the paddleboard bashes into, or overinflation. Now these boards also have a 30-day money-back guarantee as well, where if you return the boards, you won't have to pay a return fee or a restocking fee, which is actually pretty good. Some SUP manufacturers do have that, and I do find it's a little bit annoying.